Do you know why she can laugh with you on a Friday night, kiss you with passion, and yet still look at you on Sunday morning like you're not the man she could ever truly build a life with? That single silent shift in her eyes terrifies men, because it's not about what you did in that moment. It's about what she has always been scanning for in you, quietly, without words. Women don't just see the man you show them, they feel the man you are. And here's the truth no one tells you. Women are constantly evaluating whether you're a man they can invest years into or a man they can only enjoy for a fleeting chapter. And most men never even realize the tests are happening. That's why so many men wake up blindsided when she loses interest. But the signals were there from the start. You see, when a woman thinks about long-term partnership, she's not simply asking, do I like him? She's asking, can I respect him? Can I trust his leadership? Does being next to him make my world feel safer, more stable, and more meaningful? These questions run deeper than beauty, money, or charm, because what she's looking for in a partner isn't just romance. It's survival, legacy, and a container strong enough to hold her storms. And if you don't understand this, you'll confuse her laughter for commitment and her affection for permanence, when in reality, she might already be deciding how temporary you are in her life. The brutal reality is, women don't fall in love with men who simply desire them. They fall in love with men they can admire. You might think her attraction is about muscles, money, or looks, but those are just surface sparks. What keeps her choosing a man year after year is whether he has the backbone, the emotional presence, and the vision that she can align herself with. Without those, you'll always feel like you're not enough in her eyes, even if you give her everything she asks for. And that confusion, that silent suffering, is what destroys men from the inside. Because you're pouring love into a bucket with no bottom, not realizing that what she really needed wasn't more giving, it was more being. Now, here's the part that stings most men. The qualities that women scan for long-term are often the ones men ignore in themselves. Every woman carries within her a radar, a subconscious system scanning for signals about who you really are beneath the mask. She may not articulate it, but she feels it. That's why you can't fake leadership, confidence, or direction for long, because her instincts will expose you faster than your words can cover it. And this is where so many men fail. They chase approval instead of commanding respect. They bend to her moods instead of grounding her storms. They think being agreeable will make them lovable, when in fact it makes them forgettable. A woman doesn't stay loyal to a man who merely pleases her. She bonds to a man who anchors her. When she considers you for the long run, she's asking, does this man know who he is? Does he stand on his own principles even when it's inconvenient? Or does he shift with the wind, hoping to keep me happy at all costs? Because if you crumble under her emotional weight, she doesn't feel safe. She feels abandoned, even if you're standing right there. It may sound harsh, but to her nervous system, weakness feels like danger. And that danger whispers to her, he's not the one. Think about it. A woman may enjoy temporary excitement with a man who dazzles her for a night. But when she thinks about the future, excitement without stability becomes a liability. She imagines children, a home, a life unfolding, and asks herself, can this man hold it all, or will I end up carrying him too? That single question changes everything. If her answer is no, her attraction may flicker like a flame in the wind, burning hot in the moment, but extinguishing without warning. And men who don't understand this misread her silence, her withdrawal, her fading warmth, as if it came out of nowhere. It didn't. It came from the moment she realized she couldn't trust your frame. What women crave in a long-term partner is not perfection, not endless money, not godlike looks. It's inner strength expressed through consistency, the strength to say no when it matters, the strength to stand by a vision even when she doubts it, the strength to stay calm when she unravels. This is the kind of man a woman can root herself in, because his presence becomes the soil where her emotions, her loyalty, and her deepest trust can grow. A woman's mind doesn't separate attraction from security the way a man's often does. For men, beauty can be enough to spark commitment. For women, beauty alone isn't enough to sustain it. That's why she studies the subtleties of how you move through the world. She listens not only to your words, but to the energy behind them. She notices if your promises dissolve when life pressures you. She senses whether your confidence is authentic or just a mask that cracks under resistance. These details aren't small to her, they're everything. They tell her if she's safe to let down her guard or if she has to remain on edge around you. This is why some men never understand why they keep losing women who once adored them. They blame her for being fickle, when in reality, she simply recognized that his energy wasn't solid enough for the journey. Women don't want to mother a partner. They don't want to feel like they're dragging a man toward his own potential. That drains her soul. What ignites her soul is when she sees a man walking his own path so firmly that she feels pulled into his orbit without effort. She wants to feel like choosing you elevates her life, not like it traps her in endless emotional labor. Think of it like this: women are wired for protection and provision, not only in the material sense, but in the emotional and psychological sense. If you can't protect her from her own spirals by remaining grounded, if you can't provide her with a vision greater than daily survival, then you're asking her to carry burdens her biology resists. It's not that she doesn't want to love you, it's that her instincts won't let her fully trust you. And trust is the real glue in long-term bonds. Attraction lights the fire, but trust keeps it burning year after year. So many men misunderstand the true meaning of strength. They think it's about dominance, aggression, or control. But the kind of strength that makes a woman stay isn't loud. It's calm, it's steady, it's immovable when chaos swirls. A man who reacts with insecurity, jealousy, or rage reveals he's not strong, he's fragile. But a man who can absorb storms without losing himself? That's the man she looks at and thinks, I could give my heart to him, and it would be safe. What women truly want in a long-term partner often scares men because it demands more than surface effort. It demands transformation. She's not looking for the man who flatters her endlessly, who folds every time she raises her voice, or who tries to buy her love with gifts he can't afford. She's looking for the man who can look into her storm without flinching. Because here's the truth. A woman's emotions are not always soft, not always sweet. There will be days when she doubts herself, when she lashes out, when her insecurities bleed into her words. And in those moments, she is silently asking, will you collapse under my chaos, or will you remain unshaken? This doesn't mean she wants a tyrant or a man who dismisses her feelings. Quite the opposite. She wants to feel that you can hold her, not silence her, that you can understand without absorbing every drop of her anxiety into yourself, that you can love her without losing your own center of gravity. That is the paradox men miss. Strength isn't about controlling her, and it isn't about surrendering to her. It's about being unmovable while staying compassionate. If you can master that balance, you unlock a depth of loyalty that surface attraction could never buy. But here's the painful reality. Too many men sacrifice themselves in pursuit of being loved. They abandon their dreams, shrink their opinions, and dilute their presence just to keep her close. And while she may accept that in the short term, over time, she begins to resent it. Why? Because if you won't stand up for yourself, how can she trust you to stand up for her? If you don't protect your own boundaries, how can she believe you'll protect hers? That quiet resentment grows until one day she looks at you with a love that has hollowed out. The man she chooses for life is the man who refuses to disappear into her moods, who refuses to betray himself just to avoid conflict. Because deep down, she doesn't want to lead you. She wants to follow a man whose vision is strong enough for her to join. And when she finds that man, she doesn't just love him. She respects him, she admires him, and she ties her destiny to his. That's the kind of bond that outlives beauty, money, and time. At the core of every long-term relationship that thrives, there is one truth. Women stay where they feel both love and leadership. Not leadership in the sense of control or dominance, but leadership in the sense of direction. She wants to know that if she ties her life to yours, it's going somewhere meaningful. That your presence isn't just a shelter from the storm, but also a ship moving toward a greater horizon. Because love without direction eventually suffocates. It becomes a cage instead of a sanctuary, and this is why so many relationships fail. Not because love disappeared, but because respect did. When a woman thinks about giving you years, about building a family, about standing beside you through her most vulnerable seasons, she isn't choosing lightly. She is wagering her future, her body, her emotional world, and she cannot afford to gamble on a man who does not know who he is. This is why women are drawn to men with purpose. Not because of status symbols or wealth on their own, but because purpose radiates stability. A man with vision doesn't crumble when the world tests him. A man with vision doesn't rely on her to supply all his strength. And a man with vision gives her the freedom to relax, to be fully feminine, because she knows his masculinity won't collapse when the pressure rises. But here is the part most men ignore. None of this begins with her. It begins with you. Before you can expect loyalty, devotion, or admiration, you must become the kind of man who commands it without begging for it. You must become the man who is trustworthy, not because you demand trust, but because your actions prove it. The man whose word is his bond, whose presence is steady, and whose energy brings peace instead of chaos. When you embody that, women don't just want you, they fight to keep you. So the question isn't, what do women look for? You already know now. The real question is, are you willing to become that man? Because she isn't waiting for you to be perfect. She's waiting for you to be real, to be unshakable, to be the kind of man she can respect for decades. And if you fail to rise, don't blame her for leaving. Blame the version of yourself you refuse to outgrow. Now I want to ask you directly, which quality do you think women value most in a long-term partner? Strength, vision, or consistency? Drop your answer in the comments and let's see where men really stand. If this message hit you hard, like the video, subscribe for more and share this with a friend who needs to hear it tonight.